Jimmy Garoppolo's gone. If the Raiders thought they could get him, Derek Carr's gone. If the Panthers thought they can get him, see ya Teddy Bridgewater. So I think Houston's going to have the ability to make this move if and when they decide they have to, even if that's not within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Meanwhile, the first part of that, which I've been thinking about all this time, Dominique, is, well, they don't have to do anything. They can call his bluff and see if he really is willing to sit out. But you made an interesting point this morning about how that isn't a good option either.
He's not a running back. We just came off a segment where we talked about the Patriot way is Tom Brady. And Tom Brady was in the building embodying that. And that helps define a culture on a team. So what you're saying is, all right, we don't trade him. We'll make him come in. So that means best case scenario. This is the best case. He shows up unhappy and disgruntled and talking trash about the organization to the other players on the team. Even if he doesn't do that, just him being there and being in a bad mood is deleterious to the culture of your team. You can't win that way. And I understand how stupid it is to trade a 25-year-old superstar quarterback, but the mistake isn't trading him. The mistake was doing all the things that led you to a point where you have to trade him. So please stop holding on some hope that you think that some coaching hire or some change or some decision, some conversation is going to convince him to come back and be your happy leader. You messed that opportunity up. And right now you need to move on from him as soon as you can, because you can probably get more reward, especially if you do it before the draft.
Right. And look, that's the bottom line of it here. And you made it that point in our meeting this morning. It's a lose-lose. They lose either direction they go in that. And Ryan Clark, look, let's face it, but losing Deshaun Watson is devastating. No one will argue that. There's only been one player ever traded for 3 first-round picks in NFL history. That was Herschel Walker. The Cowboys used that trade to build a team that won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. So this doesn't. They've got a new staff in there. They can go out and make this deal and try and rebuild the team all over again. That feels like their best option, RC.
Yeah, first off, are we just going to ignore the fact that Dominique just said deleterious on TV? So we're gonna ignore that fact? Okay, that's fine. Listen, we can ignore it if y'all want to ignore it. Okay, I don't even know what the hell it means. Okay, but aside from that, listen, when you look at the situation with Deshaun Watson, you would think that, other than Patrick Mahomes, this is the biggest trade piece or the biggest trade bait in the history of football or in this era of football that there would be. And so if you're the Houston Texans, you have to stop fighting against the fact that you want to keep him when he doesn't want to be there. And Dominique is exactly right. It's about the energy in the building. It's about what you bring each and every day into the locker room. It's also about what you bring to the field. When you watch Deshaun Watson play last year, he played for that organization. He played for his teammates. He played for the people around him, because it wasn't just about him. It wasn't about his contract anymore. It wasn't about proving anything. All of those things were done. That changes now. When he says he doesn't want to be there, when he's not returning text messages, when there is no communication, he doesn't want to be a Houston Texan. So use him. Use him to start over. Use him to give David Culley, who won't be there when the team gets good, at least an opportunity to have a locker room that's his. And I don't think that Nick Caserio understands that. I don't feel like he understands that he won't be judged on a Deshaun Watson-less team. And so you make this move, you use Deshaun Watson to start building your team of the future, because let's be frank, even with him, this one stinks.
It's true. Look, they were 4-12. The quarterback just had, and this is not an overstatement, just had statistically one of the greatest seasons in the history of the National Football League, and they played that all the way to 4-12. So starting it all over again with everything they can get back, it is, of course, deleterious to trade away a player of that magnitude, but at this point, it feels like the best and only option they have. Back to the Super Bowl we go, and let's get picks from everybody on this. We talked so much about the quarterbacks in this game, but there are others who are going to decide who wins and loses. Rob Ninkovich, who are you watching?
I got to go with Shaq and JPP. These two guys, as a pass rusher, we've all seen it in the past. If you can get to the quarterback, sack, fumble, changes the game, could be a game-altering moment, which you win the football game. You've seen it before in the Super Bowl. It's all about protecting that football. The pass rushers can get it done on backup tackles.
That's exactly right. They're both going up against backups. They had 5 sacks of Aaron Rodgers last week. Neek, who do you have your eye on?
Juan Thornhill. So he was a great rookie safety last year, tore his ACL before they went into the playoffs. And having him back makes this defense dynamic because he can man cover, he can play zone, he can blitz. And he's a guy like Tyrann Mathieu, but he offers different things to this team. It makes this defense so much better. We saw it last week when he was coming down playing man coverage against top receivers.
All right, so that's a safety. Let me go to my safety. Ryan Clark, who you got?
You know, I'm going with Tyrann Mathieu. Listen, this is one of the 7 LSU Tigers that are in the Super Bowl, and he is the most important one. He is the best one. He completely changed the dynamic of the Kansas City Chiefs defense. He completely changed the dynamic of their leadership, and we saw how important he was down the stretch, and also the plays that he's made throughout this season, throughout this playoffs, and last year. Tyrann Mathieu has to have a big game in order for this team to win, turn the football over like Green Bay did, and give Patrick Mahomes more opportunity.
Well, I'm excited to see the tape that I know you put together because I texted you during the championship game. I texted RC and I said, Tyrann Mathieu is all over the field. Even someone like me can see that. Show everybody exactly what it is he's doing.
Well, listen, if you want to see his impact, I'm going to take you back to the divisional round against the Cleveland Browns. And so you can kind of see some of the things they were doing. They came out to run the football. This is down, and around. This is the toss sweep, a toss crack sweep. He has 2 blockers in front of him. He's going to split them while keeping it contained and tackling one of the toughest backs in the NFL in Nick Chubb. This is an all-pro play. This is diagnosis. This is execution. This is closing speed. Now, they're going to play cover 2 here. Usually your middle runner is a middle backer. They use Tyrann Mathieu, so he is supposed to be going deep with the tight end, recognizes the dagger route or the dig from Jarvis Landry, comes off with his eyes and gets filled, but now he's back on Baker Mayfield. He's rolling to the left. When Baker Mayfield comes back to the throw, the instincts, the quickness, he picks off the football. He changed this game 2 times. At the beginning of the game, the Cleveland Browns wanted to run the football. He was impactful in the run game. Then they went to the pass. As they started passing in the second half, he gets this interception, and that's what changed the play calling of Kevin Stefanski back to Nick Chubb in the run. He's not just a difference maker. He is a game changer, and he needs to change the game in order for the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl.
No, that tape is so good. And, you know, and Dominique, I mean, it's an overused expression that some people just have a knack for the ball, whatever it is. I sometimes don't like it when people say that because it sounds like you're oversimplifying it. But in this case, it just feels like it applies.
Nah, I'll break it down for you so you understand what that means. It means that he is smarter than the quarterbacks. It means that his brain is moving faster than the offense's brain is. It means that when the quarterback discovers what he wants to do with the ball, Tyrann already figured it out, and he is there. When the offensive lineman discovers that there is a safety that needs to be blocked, Tyrann is already past them. That's what it means when you say a guy has a knack for the ball. It means that their computational ability of their brain, their processing speed is faster than the guys on the other side. You saw that with that interception against Baker Mayfield. And from a leadership standpoint, he's an interesting guy. I did a piece on him before this season started. It's all about honesty and vulnerability with his players and his teammates. It's all about love and comfort. It's an unusual thing to hear from a defensive player or from a football player at all. But the rest of the team, every team that he's been on, buys into it so much that they voted him the team MVP after last season. After we saw what Patrick Mahomes did in the playoffs, they voted Tyrann Mathieu the MVP. And that's because he's great on the field, but it's also because he's great in the locker room.